In the cold shadow of Ironwood State Prison, a cryptic note slips under Marcus Tate's cell door. Green knows the truth. Hours from execution, Marcus, a black man wrongfully convicted of murder, clings to one wish: to see his German shepherd, Shadow. Framed by a corrupt system, he faces a needle for a crime he didn't commit, while a hidden conspiracy unravels. Clara, his fierce fiancée, races against time with evidence that could save him. Will Marcus expose the truth before it's too late, or will injustice silence him forever? Dive into this gripping tale of redemption and resilience. Like, share, and subscribe to catch every twist of Marcus's fight for justice. Spread the word about courage against corruption. Comment, what would you do to prove your innocence? Don't miss the next chapter. The gray dawn crept through the narrow, barred windows of Ironwood State Prison, as if the sun itself recoiled from the grim ritual within. The corridors echoed with the rhythmic clump of guards' boots against concrete floors, painted a lifeless institutional blue. In the secure wing, Marcus Tate, 38, lay shackled to a steel bed, the single bulb overhead casting harsh light on his gaunt face, etched with exhaustion. He hadn't slept in days. At sunrise, prison officials would move him to the final holding cell, a sterile chamber beside the execution room. 2 hours later, the lethal injection would end his life. No family, no friends, only sporadic visits from Reverend Ellis, the prison chaplain, had offered any solace. Yet Marcus clung to one desperate wish. "I want to see Shadow before I die," he rasped to the guard outside his cell, voice hoarse from disuse. Shadow, his German shepherd, adopted from a Redwood City alley 4 years before his arrest, was more than a pet. He was Marcus's anchor, a reminder of a life stolen by a lie. Warden Laura Delgado, 42, appeared at the cell door, her posture rigid but her brown eyes softening slightly. "Tate, final requests need approval," she said, voice clipped but not cruel. "Bringing a dog into a maximum security prison isn't protocol. We don't even know where Shadow is." "I do," Marcus cut in, chains clinking as he shifted. His throat tightened, betraying the ache he tried to hide. "He's with Clara Evans, my fiancée. She's kept him since this nightmare started. Please, Warden, if there's any shred of mercy, let me see him." His voice cracked, but his dark eyes held hers, unyielding. Delgado studied him, her lips pressed into a thin line. "I'll make inquiries, but don't expect miracles, Tate." She paused, then added, softer, "Why the dog? Why not a priest or a lawyer?" Marcus gave a faint, bitter smile. "Shadow's the only one who never doubted me. 5 years, and everyone, cops, lawyers, even my own brother, believed I killed that man. Shadow, he'd just lick my hand and stay by my side." He touched the silver ring on his finger, engraved with his late mother's name, a talisman of resilience. "He's all I've got left." Delgado nodded curtly, but her gaze lingered, conflicted. "I said I'll try, that's all I can promise." As she turned to leave, Marcus called after her, voice low but firm. "Warden, I didn't kill Raymond Concade. I've been saying it for years. If I'm going to die, at least let me go knowing I saw Shadow one last time." She froze mid-step, then glanced back. "You've had 5 years of appeals, Tate. The courts didn't buy it." Her tone was professional, but a flicker of doubt crossed her face. "Rest while you can." She walked away, her heels clicking down the corridor. Marcus sank back, chains rattling. He was too weary to argue, too broken to beg. For 5 years, he'd shouted his innocence to guards, lawyers, anyone who'd listen. No one cared, except maybe Reverend Ellis, who once admitted, "I pray you're telling the truth, son." The world outside didn't matter anymore. Protesters, some chanting for his death, others against the death penalty, were just noise. In hours, the needle would silence everything. He shuffled to the cell's small window, a high slit offering a sliver of sky. The dawn's pinkish hue reminded him of mornings walking Shadow through Redwood City's quiet streets. He could almost feel the leash tugging, see Shadow's tail wagging, hear strangers' compliments. "Fine dog you got there." Marcus had trained Shadow himself, teaching him to sit, fetch, even alert to danger. "You kept me sane, boy," he murmured, a tear escaping. If I could just see you." A faint rustle broke his thoughts. A folded piece of paper slid under the cell door, startling him. Marcus glanced at the corridor, empty. Heart pounding, he dragged his shackled feet to retrieve it. The note, scrawled in hasty ink, read, "You were framed. Green knows the truth. Find him before it's too late." No signature, no explanation. Marcus's breath hitched. Green, Walton Green, a name he'd heard whispered during his trial, tied to Concade's shady deals but never investigated. Was this a cruel prank or a lifeline? "Guard," he called, voice urgent. A young officer, Officer Tuttle, appeared, frowning. "What's this?" Marcus held up the note, chains clinking. "Someone slid this under my door. Who was in the hall just now?" Tuttle's eyes widened, but he shook his head. "No one, Tate. You're imagining things. Hand it over." Marcus hesitated, then passed it through the bars, memorizing the words. "Check the cameras, Tuttle. Someone knows I'm innocent." Tuttle snorted but pocketed the note. "You're being moved soon. Save your energy." He walked away, leaving Marcus staring at the door. The note's words burned in his mind. If someone risked leaving it, maybe there was still a chance, however slim. He touched his mother's ring, whispering, "Hold on, Shadow. I'm not done fighting yet." The cell door clanged open. Tuttle returned, face grim. "Time to go, Tate. Final holding cell, warden's orders." Marcus stood, chains heavy. "Any word on Shadow?" he asked, voice steady despite the dread. Tuttle avoided his gaze. "They're checking with the Department of Corrections. Don't get your hopes up." Marcus nodded, offering his wrists for cuffs. The click of metal felt routine after years of confinement, but the note's mystery fueled a flicker of defiance. As they led him down the corridor, Marcus glanced at the window's faint light. The sun was rising, and with it, his execution loomed. But the note, Shadow, and Clara were tethers to a truth he refused to let die. "I'm innocent," he whispered, more to himself than the guards. "And someone out there knows it." The pale dawn light barely warmed the quiet streets of Redwood City as Clara Evans pulled her battered pickup truck into the driveway of her rented townhouse. It was 6:15 a.m., and she hadn't slept, her nerves frayed from a sleepless night haunted by news broadcasts. Leonard Tate's execution set for 9 a.m. inside. Shadow, the German Shepherd Marcus had rescued years ago, lay on a worn dog bed, his silver-black fur fluffier than most his age. At the sound of Clara's footsteps, he lifted his head, ice-blue eyes alert, tail thumping softly. Clara's heart clenched. Shadow was the last tether to the life she and Marcus had planned. An engagement ring, wedding invitations half addressed, an apartment lease they never signed. All shattered when police arrested Marcus for a murder she knew he didn't commit. She crouched beside Shadow, stroking his muzzle. "You miss him, don't you, boy?" she whispered, voice trembling. "I do too." Despite 5 years of failed appeals, Clara never doubted Marcus's innocence. The evidence, a partial fingerprint, a dubious bank deposit, shaky witness accounts, felt like a patchwork of lies. But the prosecution's airtight narrative had buried him, and her pleas to journalists and the district attorney fell on deaf ears. Her phone buzzed, jolting her. The screen showed an Ironwood prison number. Clara snatched it up, heart racing. "Hello," she said, voice tight. "Miss Evans, this is Warden Laura Delgado," came the calm, official tone. "I'm calling about Marcus Tate's final request. He wants to see his dog, Shadow, one last time. He says the dog is with you." Clara's breath caught, nearly dropping the phone. He still wants Shadow." Her eyes stung, picturing Marcus in that cold cell, clinging to their dog as his only solace. "Yes," Delgado replied. "It's unprecedented, but I've got conditional approval from the Department of Corrections. You need to be here with the dog in 90 minutes, or it won't happen." "Can you make it?" Clara stood, already grabbing Shadow's leash. "I'll be there. We're leaving in 5 minutes." Her voice wavered, but resolve hardened it. "Is there any chance of a stay? I heard the governor might." "I'm sorry," Delgado cut in, gentler now. "No stays, no delays. The execution is set. This is about honoring his request." A pause. Get here soon, Miss Evans. Clara hung up, staring at Shadow, who sensed her urgency and stood, tail wagging but eyes apprehensive. Come on, boy, she said, forcing a shaky smile. We're going to see Marcus. Her chest ached. 90 minutes to cross town, through security, to give Marcus one last moment with the dog he loved more than life. She threw on a jacket, guided Shadow to the truck, and sped off, pushing the speed limit on near-empty roads. The sky bloomed with pink and orange, a cruelly beautiful dawn. Clara glanced at Shadow in the backseat, his ears perked, whining softly as if he felt the weight of the day. He's waiting for us, she murmured, gripping the wheel. Her phone kept buzzing, friends, maybe reporters, but she ignored them. Nothing mattered but getting Shadow to Marcus. As she drove, Clara's mind drifted to the night before, when she'd rummaged through Marcus's old belongings, unable to sleep. In his journal, tucked among pages of his desperate claims of innocence, she'd found a torn photograph. Marcus and a man she didn't recognize, standing by a Redwood City warehouse. On the back, scrawled in Marcus's hand, was a single word, Green. Walton Green, the name whispered during the trial but never pursued. Her pulse quickened. Could this be tied to the cryptic note Marcus mentioned in his last letter, claiming someone knew he was framed? She'd shoved the photo in her pocket, vowing to show it to a lawyer if she got the chance. Traffic lights flicked green, a small mercy. Clara's thoughts churned. Why now? She muttered aloud. Why a note, a photo, when it's almost over? Shadow whined, pressing his muzzle against the seat. Clara reached back, patting him. We'll figure it out, boy. We have to. She pulled up to Ironwood's towering fences, barbed wire glinting under the rising sun. Her stomach knotted as the first gate creaked open. A guard approached, clipboard in hand. Name and purpose, he barked. Clara Evans, she said, voice trembling but firm. I'm here for Marcus Tate's final request. I have his dog, Shadow. She gestured to the German shepherd, who sat alert, sensing the gravity. The guard checked his list, then waved her through to a side entrance. Parked there, wait for clearance. Clara parked, her hands shaking as she leashed Shadow. Almost there, she whispered, stroking his fur. You'll see him soon. Shadow's tail thumped, but his eyes stayed fixed on the prison's gray walls. Clara closed her eyes, gripping the torn photo in her pocket. She pictured Marcus, his warm smile, the dimple on his cheek, the way he'd laugh when Shadow chased squirrels. 5 years of visits, of steel bars between them, hadn't dulled her love. If that photo means something, she said softly, I'll find out. For you, Marcus, but doubt gnawed at her. What if she was too late? What if the warden changed her mind, or security blocked Shadow? The side door opened, and a guard signaled her. Evans, bring the dog. Warden's ready. Clara's heart leapt. She led Shadow forward, his nails clicking on the pavement. As they approached the prison's maw, she whispered, Hold on, Marcus. We're coming. The photo, the note, and Shadow were her lifelines to a truth she refused to let die. Time was slipping, but Clara was ready to fight for every second. The morning sun climbed higher, casting thin rays through Redwood City's haze, but inside Detective Elena Harper's cramped office, time felt like it was running out. At 55, Elena's salt and pepper hair was cropped short, her hazel eyes sharp but shadowed by sleepless nights. For 5 years, the conviction of Marcus Tate for Raymond Concade's murder had gnawed at her. She'd led the investigation, piecing together fingerprints and witness accounts that seemed airtight, until doubts crept in. Now, with Marcus's execution set for 9 a.m., Elena sat at her desk, surrounded by case files, her phone buzzing with a text from her data expert contact, checking Green's digital footprints. Need an hour. An hour. Marcus had less than 2. Elena's fingers tightened around a faded photo of her late son, Daniel, who died in a wrongful arrest gone wrong. I failed you, she whispered, guilt twisting her gut. I won't fail Marcus. She dialed her contact, voice urgent. It's Harper. What have you got on Walton Green? We're racing the clock here. The voice on the other end was low, cautious. Green's a ghost, but I'm pulling bank records and burner phone logs. Concade's shell companies moved money to someone matching Green's profile around the murder. If I can link Green to Redwood City that night, it's a game changer. Give me 45 minutes. Make it 30, Elena snapped, hanging up. She glanced at the clock. 6:45 a.m. Marcus was in Ironwood's final holding cell, likely clinging to Shadow's presence. The cryptic note he'd mentioned, Green knows the truth, and the torn photo Clara found burned in her mind. Elena had dismissed Green as a minor player during the trial, but now he felt like the key to unraveling a conspiracy. Her phone rang, startling her. It was Clara Evans, voice breathless. "Elena, I found something in Marcus's old phone, hidden in a locked folder. An audio file dated a week before his arrest. It's him talking to someone, maybe Green. Can you meet me? I'm outside Ironwood." Elena grabbed her jacket, heart pounding. "Stay put, Clara. I'm 15 minutes away." She sped through Redwood City's quiet streets, the sunrise mocking the urgency. Clara's call confirmed her suspicions. Marcus had known something about Concade's dealings, making him a perfect scapegoat. But an audio file, that could be the break they needed. At Ironwood's visitor lot, Clara stood by her truck, Shadow leashed beside her, his blue eyes alert. Clara, 36, looked exhausted, her brown hair pulled into a messy bun, but her gaze was fierce. She clutched a cracked phone, Marcus's old burner. "Listen to this," she said, playing the file. Marcus's voice crackled through static. "Green, you said Concade's partners were rigging deals. If I go public, they'll come for me." A gruff voice, possibly Green's, replied, "Keep quiet, Tate, or you're done." The file cut off. Elena's blood ran cold. "This is huge, Clara. It places Green in Marcus's orbit, maybe even threatens him. Why didn't he tell me during the investigation?" Clara's eyes welled up. "He tried, Elena. He told his lawyer, but they said it was hearsay. Then the trial buried him." She gripped Shadow's leash, voice breaking. "I showed Marcus's journal to a reporter last week. He wrote about Green, about Concade's dirty money. If I'd pushed harder—" "Don't," Elena cut in, voice firm but kind. "You kept Shadow, kept fighting. Now we have this audio. I'll get it to my contact to authenticate." She paused, softer. "Did Marcus see Shadow yet?" Clara nodded, wiping tears. "He's with him now. The warden gave him 15 minutes. He looked so broken, Elena, but Shadow made him smile." Her voice hardened. "We can't let him die. This audio, the photo, the note, someone's trying to help us." Elena's phone buzzed, a text from her contact. Green's burner pinged near Concade's penthouse, 11:58 p.m., night of murder. She showed Clara, eyes blazing. Green was there. "We're close." She dialed Warden Delgado, voice urgent. "Laura, it's Harper. We've got an audio file. Marcus talking to Walden Green, implying a setup. Plus phone logs placing Green at the crime scene. Can you push for a stay?" Delgado's voice was strained. "Elena, I've got protesters outside, the DA breathing down my neck, and a governor who wants this done. An audio file and pings aren't enough for a stay. You need hard proof Green killed Concade, not just proximity." "Then give me time," Elena pleaded. "Marcus is innocent. You saw his face when he asked for Shadow. You know something's off." A long pause followed, then Delgado sighed. "I'll call the Department of Corrections, but they'll want concrete evidence. Get me something solid in the next hour, or I can't stop this." Clara grabbed Elena's arm, voice desperate. "What do we do? Marcus has maybe an hour left." Shadow whined, sensing her distress. Elena's jaw tightened, memories of her son's death flashing, another system failure she couldn't undo. "We go to the courthouse archives," she said. "There's a second forensic report from the crime scene, buried during the trial. Footprints, gunpowder residue, not Marcus's. If we find it, with the audio, we can force a stay." Clara's eyes widened. "Gunpowder? Concade was stabbed." Elena nodded grimly. "Exactly. Someone suppressed it. Let's move." They climbed into Elena's sedan, Shadow in the back, his presence a quiet anchor. Clara clutched Marcus's phone, voice low. "He wrote in his journal, Green's the key, but they'll kill to hide it." What if Green's still out there, watching? Elena gripped the wheel, weaving through traffic. Then we're his worst nightmare, Clara. We're not stopping. Her phone buzzed again. Her contact. Bank transfer to Green, $50,000, day after murder. Source: Concade's partner. Elena's pulse surged. They paid Green to frame Marcus, she said, voice fierce. We're almost there, Clara. For Marcus, for Shadow. The sterile walls of Ironwood State Prison's final holding cell seemed to close in, the fluorescent light above buzzing like a countdown. Marcus Tate, 38, sat on the narrow bunk, shackles clinking as he traced the silver ring engraved with his mother's name. The clock read 7:30 a.m., 90 minutes until the lethal injection. His chest ached with the weight of 5 years lost to a wrongful conviction, but his thoughts clung to Shadow, his German shepherd, and Clara Evans, the fiancée who'd never stopped fighting for him. The cryptic note, Green knows the truth, and Clara's discovery of an audio file haunted him, but hope felt like a cruel mirage. I'm innocent, he whispered, more to himself than the empty room. Someone out there knows it. A soft clatter broke the silence. A paper bag slid through the door slot, containing his requested last meal, a cheeseburger with extra pickles and a soda. Marcus didn't touch it. The smell alone stirred memories of picnics with Clara and Shadow, laughing as the dog stole fries. He sipped the soda, then set it aside, stomach knotted with dread. Footsteps echoed and Officer Tuttle appeared, face unreadable. Tate, you've got a visitor, he said, unlocking the door. Marcus's heart leapt. Shadow. The warden approved it. Tuttle nodded, avoiding his gaze. Yeah, but don't get comfy. Prep's in 30 minutes. As he stepped aside, Warden Laura Delgado entered, her expression tense but softer than usual. Behind her, Clara led Shadow on a leash. The German shepherd's ice-blue eyes locked onto Marcus, and he let out a sharp bark, tail wagging furiously. Marcus's breath caught, tears welling. Shadow, he choked, dropping to his knees as the dog bounded forward, nails clicking on the tile. Hey, boy, Marcus whispered, burying his face in Shadow's thick fur. The dog's familiar scent, warm, earthy, flooded him with memories of Redwood City's trails. Shadow yelped, half crying, licking Marcus's face with frantic affection. Clara knelt beside them, her eyes red but fierce. He's missed you so much, she said, voice breaking. So have I. Marcus grasped her hand, his voice raw. Clara, you brought him. After everything, thank you. He looked up, meeting Delgado's gaze. Warden, I don't know how to repay you for this. Delgado cleared her throat, her stern facade cracking. You get 15 minutes, Tate. That's all I can give. She paused, then added, quieter, I hope it's enough. Before Marcus could respond, Tuttle leaned in, whispering to Delgado, Ma'am, Harper's here with Evans's evidence. They're in your office, pushing for a stay. Marcus's head snapped up, hope flickering. Evidence? Clara, what's happening? Clara squeezed his hand, voice urgent. We found an audio file on your old phone, you talking to Walton Green, warning you to stay quiet. Elena's got phone logs placing him at Concade's penthouse the night of the murder, and a buried forensic report. Footprints, gunpowder, not yours. Marcus's eyes widened, the note's words. Green knows the truth, echoing. You're saying, there's a chance. His voice trembled, caught between disbelief and desperation. Clara nodded, fierce. We're fighting, Marcus. Elena's at the courthouse now, digging for more. We won't let them take you. Delgado's radio crackled, and she stepped aside, listening intently. Marcus hugged Shadow tighter, whispering, You hear that, boy? They're trying. The dog nuzzled him, whining softly, as if sensing the stakes. Clara's voice dropped, urgent. Marcus, there's something else. Shadow dug up a paper in our yard, a number linked to Green. Someone's helping us, but I'm scared. What if they're watching? Marcus's jaw tightened, fear mixing with hope. If Green's involved, he's not alone. Concade's partners, they framed me to protect their empire. He looked at Delgado, voice firm. Warden, you know this stinks. 5 years, I've said I'm innocent. Give Clara and Harper time. Delgado's eyes flickered with doubt, but she shook her head. Tate, I need hard proof, not theories. I've got the governor's office and protesters breathing down my neck." As she spoke, Tuttle leaned close, voice barely audible. "Warden, watch your back. Someone high up in corrections doesn't want this case reopened. I heard talk of a cover-up." Delgado's face hardened, but she nodded subtly, signaling him to stay quiet. The cell door buzzed, and Elena Harper stormed in, her face flushed from rushing. "Laura, we've got it," she said, holding a folder. "Forensic report, suppressed, gunpowder residue, footprints not Marcus's." Green's burner phone pinged a block from Concade's penthouse at 11:58 p.m. and this audio file. Marcus warning Green about Concade's dirty deals. "It's enough for a stay, isn't it?" Delgado scanned the folder, her expression shifting. "This is compelling, Harper, but the governor needs a direct link to Green as the killer." "I'll call, but it's a long shot." Clara stood, voice shaking with fury. "A long shot? Marcus is innocent. You saw Shadow's reaction. He knows Marcus isn't a murderer. Give us time." Marcus, still kneeling with Shadow, looked up, voice steady despite tears. "Warden, I've got nothing left but the truth. If you believe there's even a chance I'm innocent, don't let that needle win." Shadow whined, pressing against him, and Delgado's resolve wavered. She grabbed her radio, voice firm. "Get me the Department of Corrections, now. Tell them we've got new evidence in Tate's case." Elena turned to Clara, whispering, "We're close, but Green's partners might try to bury this." That guard's warning, someone's scared. Clara's eyes blazed. "Let them try. I've got Marcus's journal, the audio, and Shadow. We're not stopping." Delgado hung up, face pale. "They're reviewing it. I've got you a 2-hour stay, Tate, until 11 a.m. That's the best I can do." Marcus exhaled, clutching Shadow. 2 hours, he murmured. "Thank you, Warden." Clara hugged him, whispering, "We'll make it enough." Elena nodded, voice fierce. Back to the courthouse. There's more to find. As Delgado ushered them out, Tuttle lingered, slipping Marcus a quick nod. "Keep fighting, Tate. Not everyone here wants you dead." Marcus met his gaze, gripping his mother's ring. With Shadow's warmth beside him, Clara's fire, and Elena's evidence, he felt a spark of hope, a chance to prove the truth before the clock ran out. The air in Ironwood State Prison's holding cell felt heavy, the fluorescent light casting stark shadows across Marcus Tate's face. At 38, he sat on the bunk, unshackled now, the silver ring with his mother's name a quiet anchor. The clock read 9:15 a.m., less than 2 hours until the execution deadline. The warden Laura Delgado's 2-hour stay had bought a sliver of hope. Marcus's reunion with Shadow, his German shepherd, lingered like a lifeline, but the cryptic note, Clara's audio file, and the suppressed forensic report swirled in his mind. 2 hours, he murmured, touching the ring. Enough to prove I'm no killer. PTSD gripped him, flashes of cell doors slamming, the jeers of guards, making freedom feel like a taunt. Outside, in Delgado's office, Detective Elena Harper paced, her phone pressed to her ear. At 55, her hazel eyes burned with purpose, driven by guilt over her son's death and her role in Marcus's conviction. "Tell me you've got Green," she said to her data expert contact, voice sharp. "We need him to talk." "He's in custody," the contact replied. "Arrested an hour ago in Nevada. He's clamming up, but we pulled an email from a Concade associate, name's Victor Langston, ordering Green to neutralize Concade and pin it on Tate. Dated 2 days before the murder. It's damning, Harper." Elena's pulse surged. "Send it to me, now. And keep digging, Langston's not working alone." She hung up, turning to Clara Evans, who sat clutching Marcus's journal, Shadow at her feet. Clara, 36, looked drained, her brown eyes fierce despite exhaustion. "Clara, we've got Green in an email proving a setup. Langston's a Concade partner, big real estate money. This could free Marcus." Clara's breath hitched, gripping Shadow's leash. "Langston?" Marcus mentioned him in his journal, said he was shady, but no one listened. Her voice cracked. "Elena, will this be enough? The stay ends at 11 o'clock. Shadow whined, nuzzling her, sensing her fear. Elena knelt beside her, voice steady. "It's enough to push for a 48-hour stay. I'm meeting Assistant DA Nathan Brooks at the courthouse to force his hand. But Clara, that guard's warning, someone in corrections wants this buried. We're not safe yet. Clara's eyes hardened. Let them try. Marcus has Shadow, me, and you. We're not backing down. In the holding cell, Marcus heard footsteps. Delgado entered, her face a mask of tension. Tate, Harper's got new evidence. A suspect in custody, an email tying Concade's murder to a setup. I'm pushing for a longer stay, but the governor's office is skeptical. They want Green's confession. Marcus stood, heart pounding. Green's caught. Warden, I told you. I didn't kill Concade. That note, the audio, it's all true. His voice trembled, PTSD flashing images of death row's isolation. What's stopping them? Why won't they believe me? Delgado sighed, her stern demeanor softening. Politics, Tate. Concade's partners have influence, City Hall, even corrections. I got a call from a deputy director, hinting to let this go. But I'm not in their pocket. She paused, voice low. You've got people fighting for you. Don't give up. Marcus touched his ring, voice raw. I want to believe, Warden. But 5 years of no one listening, it's hard. If I get out, what's left? My job's gone, my life's gone. Delgado met his gaze, her voice firm. You've got Clara, Shadow, and a chance. Hold on to that. Outside, Elena and Clara arrived at the courthouse, Shadow in tow. Nathan Brooks, 48, waited in a conference room, his polished suit belying his unease. The assistant DA who'd prosecuted Marcus now faced a crumbling legacy. Harper, Evans, he greeted, voice clipped. You've got Green, an email, forensics. Impressive, but it's circumstantial without Green's testimony. Why should I risk my neck for a stay? Clara slammed Marcus's journal on the table, voice blazing. Because Marcus is innocent. This email, Langston ordering Green to frame him, isn't circumstantial. It's proof. You buried him 5 years ago. Do the right thing now, or I'll take this to every reporter in Redwood City. Shadow growled softly, sensing her anger. Brooks flinched, glancing at the journal. You're emotional, Miss Evans. The governor needs a confession, not emails. Elena stepped forward, voice like steel. Nathan, I was lead detective. I missed the signs, gunpowder, footprints, Green's calls. You pushed the narrative because Concade's partners wanted a scapegoat. That email ties Langston to Green. If you ignore it, you're complicit. Brooks's jaw tightened, but doubt flickered in his eyes. You're accusing City Hall of a conspiracy. That's a big leap. Clara opened the journal, reading Marcus's words. Langston threatened me if I exposed Concade's deals. Green's his fixer. She looked up, voice steady. Marcus knew, and they silenced him. Will you? Brooks exhaled, rubbing his temples. Fine, I'll call the governor's council, recommend a 48-hour stay to verify Green's role. But if he doesn't talk, Tate's done. Elena nodded, voice firm. He'll talk. I'll make sure of it. Clara clutched Shadow's leash, whispering, we're close, Marcus. Back at Ironwood, Delgado's radio crackled. She listened, then entered Marcus's cell, face cautiously hopeful. Tate, the governor's approved a 48-hour stay. Green's in custody, and they're reviewing the email. You're moving to a secure wing, not death row. Marcus's knees buckled, tears falling. 48 hours, he whispered. Clara did this, Harper, and you, Delgado said, softer. You kept fighting, but Tate, be careful. Someone leaked that email to Harper, someone inside who's scared. This isn't over. Marcus nodded, ripping his ring. I know, but with Shadow and Clara, I've got a reason to keep going. As Delgado left, Marcus sank onto the bunk, PTSD easing slightly. The email, Green's arrest, and Shadow's warmth were lifelines. But Clara's warning about Langston's reach echoed. Freedom was close, yet danger loomed. Hold on, boy, he murmured, imagining Shadow's blue eyes. We're not done yet. At the courthouse, Elena's phone buzzed. A text from her contact. Langston's fleeing the state. Cops are on him, she showed Clara, voice fierce. We've got Green, and Langston's next. Let's finish this. Clara stroked Shadow, voice resolute. For Marcus, The 48-hour stay was a victory, but the real battle for truth and safety was just beginning. The Redwood City Courthouse gleamed under the midday sun, its marble halls humming with anticipation. Inside, the courtroom buzzed with reporters, city officials, and a tense gallery, all drawn to the emergency hearing for Marcus Tate. At 38, Marcus sat at the defense table, no longer shackled, his silver ring engraved with his mother's name glinting under the lights. 5 years on death row had left him gaunt, but his dark eyes burned with cautious hope. Beside him, his new public defender, Sarah Nguyen, exuded quiet confidence. Across the aisle, Assistant DA Nathan Brooks sat, his polished demeanor frayed by the unraveling of his high-profile conviction. In the gallery, Clara Evans, 36, clutched Marcus's journal, Shadow's leash in her other hand, the German Shepherd's ice blue eyes alert. Detective Elena Harper, 55, stood nearby, gripping a folder of evidence, her face a mix of resolve and guilt. Judge Carla Alvarez, 60, banged her gavel, silencing the room. "We're here to address new evidence in the conviction of Marcus Tate for the murder of Raymond Kincaid," she said, voice steady. Mr. Brooks, as the original prosecutor, summarized the state's position. Brooks stood, clearing his throat, his confidence shaken. "Your Honor, since the 48-hour stay, significant evidence has emerged. Walton Green, a known fixer, was arrested and confessed to killing Kincaid under orders from Victor Langston, a Kincaid associate. An email from Langston instructed Green to frame Mr. Tate. Suppressed forensics, gunpowder residue, unmatched footprints, and phone logs place Green at the scene. The state concedes Mr. Tate's conviction may be flawed." The gallery gasped, reporters scribbling furiously. Marcus's breath hitched, gripping his ring. Clara's eyes welled, whispering to Shadow, "He's coming home." Elena nodded at Marcus, her guilt easing. She'd failed her son, but not him. Judge Alvarez turned to Nguyen. "Counselor, your motion?" Nguyen rose, voice firm. "Your Honor, we move to vacate Mr. Tate's conviction and release him immediately. Green's confession, the email, and forensics prove his innocence. The prosecution's case was built on manipulated evidence. Mr. Tate has suffered enough." Alvarez's gaze shifted to Clara, who stood, journal in hand. "Miss Evans, you've requested to speak." "Proceed." Clara's voice trembled but grew steady, addressing the court. "This is Marcus's journal, written in prison. He documented Langston's threats, Green's role, and Kincaid's corruption. He wrote, 'They framed me to silence me, but the truth will out.' I believed him when no one else did." She opened the journal, reading, "Clara and Shadow are my light. If I die, let them know I fought." Her voice broke. "He's innocent, Your Honor. Let him live." The courtroom fell silent, even Brooks looking shaken. Marcus wiped tears, whispering, "Clara?" Shadow whined softly, nuzzling her leg. Elena stepped forward, voice resolute. "Your Honor, I was lead detective. I missed the truth. Gunpowder, Green's calls. Green confessed Langston paid him $100,000 to kill Kincaid and frame Tate, protecting a real estate racket. Langston's in custody, and we're tracing his allies. Justice demands Mr. Tate's release." Brooks rose, voice subdued. "The state does not oppose vacating the conviction. We regret the errors." A murmur rippled through the gallery. Alvarez's eyes softened, turning to Marcus. "Mr. Tate, do you wish to speak?" Marcus stood, voice raw but strong. 5 years, I was called a murderer. I lost my job, my home, my life. But Clara, Shadow, and Detective Harper never gave up. I didn't kill Kincaid, I just want to go home." His gaze met Clara's, tears falling. "Thank you for believing me." Alvarez banged her gavel, voice clear. "Based on the evidence and confession, I vacate Mr. Marcus Tate's conviction. He is released immediately, with the court's deepest apologies for this miscarriage of justice." The gallery erupted in applause, reporters rushing to file stories. Clara ran to Marcus, embracing him as Shadow barked joyously, leaping to lick his face. Elena exhaled, a weight lifting, while Brooks slipped out, his career in tatters. Outside, under a bright sun, Marcus stepped onto the courthouse steps, Clara's arm linked with his, Shadow bounding ahead. Camera crews swarmed, but Marcus waved them off, crouching to hub Shadow. "You kept me going, boy," he whispered, tears soaking the dog's fur. Clara kissed his forehead, voice soft. "We're free, Marcus." Together, Elena approached, voice gentle. "I'm sorry I failed you, Marcus, but you've got a future now." Marcus stood, gripping her hand. "You gave me one, Harper. That's enough." But as they moved toward Clara's truck, his phone, returned by the prison, buzzed with an unknown number. A cold voice hissed, "Langston's down, Tate, but his friends know you're free. Watch your back." The call cut off, chilling Marcus's spine. Clara's eyes widened, but she squeezed his hand. "We'll face it together," she said, voice fierce. Weeks later, Marcus and Clara walked Redwood Creek's trails, Shadow trotting happily. The city reeled from arrests, Langston's allies exposed in a sprawling corruption probe, sparked by Marcus's case. A state settlement offered compensation, but Marcus had bigger plans. "I'm starting a foundation," he told Clara, voice steady, "for the wrongfully convicted, so no one suffers like I did." Clara smiled, Shadow's leash in hand. "I'm with you, always." Under the morning sun, Marcus touched his ring, feeling his mother's strength, Clara's love, and Shadow's loyalty. The threatening call lingered, a reminder of enemies still lurking, but he wasn't alone. One day at a time, he murmured, Shadow barking as they forged a new path, not as prisoner and pet, but as survivors bound by truth and hope. The story of Marcus Tate offers profound lessons in resilience, truth, and the power of unwavering love. Wrongfully convicted and facing execution, Marcus, a black man, endured 5 years of injustice, framed by a corrupt system to protect powerful interests. His fight for exoneration, fueled by Clara Evans's loyalty, Detective Elena Harper's redemption, and the steadfast presence of his German shepherd, Shadow, reveals that justice demands relentless courage. Marcus's journal, the audio file, and suppressed forensics exposed a conspiracy, teaching us that truth can prevail when individuals refuse to stay silent. Clara's devotion and Shadow's unconditional love highlight how personal bonds can anchor us through despair, while Elena's atonement underscores the importance of owning past mistakes. The story critiques systemic corruption, showing how wealth and influence can distort justice, yet Marcus's foundation for the wrongfully convicted inspires collective action. His survival, despite a lingering threat from Langston's allies, reminds us that the fight for fairness is ongoing, requiring vigilance and unity. This narrative urges us to challenge injustice in our own lives, to listen to the marginalized, and to act with compassion, as Clara did for Marcus. Leadership, as Marcus and Elena demonstrated, means standing for what's right, even at personal cost. Every step toward truth, whether a note, a confession, or a dog's loyalty, matters. We must ask ourselves, what truths are we ignoring, and how can we amplify the voiceless? Like, share, and subscribe to join us for more stories of triumph over adversity. Your support spreads messages of hope and justice. Drop a comment. What inspired you most about Marcus's journey? Stay tuned for more tales of courage and redemption that will keep you on the edge of your seat.